McDonald's. What can I get you today?
Hi, she'll have the quarter pounder with cheese, extra mustard.
No pickles.
And I'll have a 10-piece chicken McNuggets. And 2 sides of ranch, please.
The we've done this before meal. Get it at McDonald's when you get 2 of your faves for just $6.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Single item at regular price.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer. Brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Number 114. I'm Chris. With me from MichiganBeerGuide.com is JR.
JR in the house.
Uncle Pete making his triumphant return.
Uncle Pete back in Rockwood, Michigan again.
High Life. Where you been?
Alan here from Allen Park. Been busy. Making beer.
All right. It is another Road Warriors episode. JR, I believe you have this week's quote.
I do, and it's getting very, very difficult to find original quotes. So, listeners, please, if you have a beer-relevant quote or even a drinking-relevant quote, please tweet us out at Beer Nuts Podcast or at Michigan Beer Guy. We'd love to hear from you. Give us some quotes, and we will gladly use them because we struggle every week to find new ones. That being said, here's this week's quote from the infamous, or maybe not famous, Richard Bronstein. The hard part about being a bartender is figuring out who is drunk and who is just stupid.
It's true. Touche.
Anybody who's ever tended bar knows that there's a fine line, and maybe some people are probably both.
Yeah.
If you're drunk at the bar, you're probably already stupid. All right, well, the reason that we are reverting to our Road Warriors topic tonight is because our beloved Uncle Pete is finally back from a 2-month around the country excursion in his, motorhome, camper, whatever you want to call it. And so we are going to just turn it over to him, and he can tell us about his adventures. It's been a wonderful experience, and we're going to live vicariously through you. So take it away, Uncle Pete, and introduce us to our first beer and tell us about your trip.
Sounds good, JR. Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be back. I wished I could have been on more of the episodes during the trip, but quite honestly, it was quite difficult in many places to get a good signal. You know, the campground Wi-Fi wasn't always that good. So, I'm back. I took a trip, packed up the wife and the dog, and hooked up the trailer to the pickup truck. And, a year ago I retired from my full-time job, and I never really had a party or did anything to celebrate. So this trip was really a celebration of retirement. And I didn't set out, quite honestly, to, purposefully spend the whole time going to breweries. But believe me, I will tell you that I did hit quite a few. I was gone for 57 days and put on nearly 10,000 miles. And I hit 21 states. Sweet. Out of those 21 states, I hit 14 breweries in, I think it was 9 of those states. 3 in Wisconsin, 1 in Minnesota, 1 in Montana, 2 in Washington, 2 in Oregon, 1 in California, 1 in Arizona, and 1 in Tennessee. Oh, and 1 in Michigan. So that makes 14. But I did leave home with 2 cases of Stroh's that I delivered to my brother in Sacramento. He's a Stroh's beer nut. And I actually came home with almost 4 cases of beers from all of the different breweries and bottle shops that I hit along the way. So I think I did pretty good.
Yeah.
I know my mini fridge cannot handle the whole capacity of the booty that I brought home. But I did pack it up and getting everything chilled now, so I'm going to start digging in. And believe me, guys, I'd love to share if there's an opportunity and we get a chance to share. Mi cerveza es su cerveza, as they say.
I'm right around the corner.
So let's see. We got to talk about beers. So let me just give you a little background. I can't help but tell you, my first stop when I left Michigan heading west was Wisconsin, and the first brewery was New Glarus. And I just love the beers from there. I've had a few. He's been kind enough to sport me a few when he's had them. But this time I got to go to the source and pick up some of the best fruit beers that I've ever had. The strawberry rhubarb and the raspberry tart. They've got a Belgian red that's unbelievable. And it's on top of a hill overlooking the town of New Glarus, which is actually a Swiss settlement of Swiss descent. And that's my heritage as well, if I never mentioned it on the show before, but I'm part Swiss and German. So it was kind of fun to travel through that town and check out the Swiss museum, and then this New Glarus brewery on top of the hill looking down on the town was just beautiful. But I want to move far west, actually, and get into a beer that I found, and it was at a brewery in the middle of a hop field of all things. And I thought, man, there's tons of hops growing here in Yakima Valley, Washington. Oh. And if you don't know about Yakima Valley and the history of hops there, and in fact the most even current history of hops, is they are probably the biggest hop producing region in the world by pounds of hops. I guess they put out 1 million pounds a year or something like that. And when you think of the need for hops, when I was driving through that region, if you look to the left, look to the right, I mean, it's full of orchards, it's full of vineyards, it's full of hop fields.
Were you in any parts of Washington where you could reach out and maybe it looked like you could just grab a handful of hops? Were you on any of those roads?
Well, this one I was on in Yakima, the town of Yakima itself. Yeah, I was on a road, and I'm like, I'm surrounded here. Mm-hmm. And we needed to stop for gas and stretch our legs. And so while I'm getting gas, I'm on the phone, right, going, okay, where's the brewery, the closest brewery? And I found this bale breaker right in Yakima, and it turns out they're right in the middle of a hop farm. And I did a little history on them and looked them up. And in fact, they started growing hops on this farm in 1932, and it's still family owned. And now this brewery, Bale Breaker, is like the 5th largest production craft brewery in the state of Washington now. So I knew that I was bound to get some awesome fresh, hoppy beers there, of course, pale ales and IPAs and doubles. And I went in and I tried everything. I sat right down and said, give me the full thing here, the full flight. And they have a flagship beer called Top Cutter, and it's an India Pale Ale, and it's a West Coast style, and it's named for the tractor that is unique to the hop harvest. There's a tractor called the Top Cutter, and it's got a big attachment on the tractor that will go along the top of the hop vine where they're attached at the top and disconnect them. And that way they drop to the bottom. So,
but you do that with another plant.
Cut the tops, that's right. Top trimmer.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that as another part of the trip, but we'll save that for another time. But anyway, let me open this beer. It's called Top Cutter India Pale Ale from Bale Breaker in Yakima, Washington. And I got it nice and cold. And already the aroma as I'm pouring it, it's just flooding out and surrounding me here. And it just poured with a beautiful, thick, white, foamy head, bright white. This is, it's not a yellow beer, but it is maybe a shade darker with a little copper color in there. The aroma is just captivating. It's just floating around in here. And you stick your nose way down in the head of this glass. And the freshness of the hop aroma is just beautiful. I mean, it's like perfume. It's just like a fine perfume. this is, I'm sure, I'm looking for the alcohol content here in the IBUs. I don't see it on the can. If anybody's online, oh, here we go, 6.8% alcohol and 70 IBUs. So this is going to be a real, this is going to dry me out probably pretty quick here. Yeah, immediately you pucker up. I mean, this has got a bitterness factor to it. It's pungent. It's slightly sticky. Very dank. I love the hop bitterness. It still tastes fresh, even though I got this probably 4 to 5 weeks ago. And, carried it, kept it protected from all of my travels as far as, we went through the desert and stuff in the Southwest, so I did keep everything cool. But it made it well. It still tastes very good. I mean, this is one, if you want to have a real blast of fruity, citrusy, and piney combination hops with an aroma that just fills the room. The head is very long lasting on this beer, and the flavor is just knocking me out. It's something I think that's going to sit on my palate, and probably I may need to let one of you guys review a beer in between before I do my next beer, because this is going to ruin me probably for the next 20 minutes.
Lucky. I missed going to that part of the country. It was. Man, there's such great beer up there.
And I've never been there, and I know you've been there, and just the imagery that I went there with, it came out different.
Yeah,
and
you're in that part of Washington you were in.
Yeah,
there ain't no mountains, there ain't no trees. That part that everybody thinks of is with the trees and the mountains. That is the eastern third of Washington. The rest of Washington is mountains, or it's hills and farms.
Yeah, and you're right. It was like this dry, arid landscape,
but then you had desert.
But you had this green oasis of orchards and hop fields and vineyards and stuff like that, and farms that just kind of stuck out like a sore green thumb. And it was really cool to see. And in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, this region is responsible for such a huge amount of not only hop production, but even fruits and stuff like that. Because we did stop nearby at a fruit stand and picked up some Washington apples. Okay, which were fantastic, and I bought some Washington cider, apple cider, hard cider right there. And it was interesting just to see this area sticking out like it did. And so I'm glad it was there. I'm glad I got to enjoy it. And that was just one of the 14 breweries that I visited. The people were very nice. I did share our Beer Nuts podcast information with them. And in fact, it'd be a good idea to contact them again now and say, hey, check out episode 114 and hear about yourselves. But a nice bunch of people. And I ended up walking out of there with 3 or 4 6-packs of some of their good beers. So that was the first Washington brewery experience I've had.
Well, I can tell you this. I have some statistics pulled up on hop production in the United States. And the state of Washington produces over 70% of all hops used to brew in the United States. So it's the hotbed. I know, I think Oregon used to be second and Idaho third. I read an article the other day that I think Idaho may have surpassed Oregon. But they're both, neck and neck in, second and third. And I think Michigan is a very far distant fourth, which is cool that we're at least in the conversation. But, Washington is definitely where, the nation's hops are grown.
And you got to remember, there's multiple, well, not only multiple named hops, right? You got your Cascades and your Citras and your Centennials and Mosaic and Simcoe, those names. But there's also different types of hops as far as you got aroma hops and you got bittering hops. And you got hops that can basically provide both aroma and bittering. And I'm pretty sure that there's a big science out there in the growing, regions of Yakima, where they're trying to figure out how to balance, how much of each do we grow? What's the demand? And because as we've noticed over the course of time, even with our podcast and all the different styles of beers we've tasted and tried, we've seen swings, right? We've had a big, the big West Coast IPA craze with the type of piney hops and stuff from out there, right? And the bitterness and the aromas. And then you've had now the New England style IPAs and the whole different character you get in aromas and bitterness from those and flavors. So it'd be interesting to be part of the hop producing, machine and understand that.
I have an interesting statistic here because this statistics I pulled up have actually, breaking down by the types of hops. Give me a guess on what you think. I don't think anybody is going to get this. What hop is the most produced in the state of Idaho?
Idaho? Cascade?
Nope. You would never believe this. It's not even close. It is Zeus.
Which is a bittering.
2,786,300 pounds of hops.
That's a bittering
and
hop,
the next
right?
closest is Cascade at 1,562, so it's almost twice as many. Now,
that's Idaho.
Let me look at the Washington. I'm looking for the Washington.
No, I bet Idaho. I bet Washington's probably Centennial or Cascade.
Oregon is almost all even. Mosaic is actually Super Galena.
What year are you talking about?
It's 2017. Super Galena is the number one for the state of Oregon. I don't know why there's no Washington. Here we go. Washington. Columbus, Tomahawk, 2646. Azaka, 2463.
What are those numbers? What's 26?
It's in the thousand pounds. So add
thousands of pounds.
Here it is. Zeus, 3,088. It is number one. I never would have guessed in a million years that the Zeus hops is the number one produced hop.
Which is America. A bittering. It's a bittering hop, right? As a compared.
I don't know much about it. I'm kind of ashamed that I don't. But
well, that's what I'm saying. See, this is what I'm getting at. Is it would be fun to learn more about the whole hop. The hop.
3,088,000 pounds of hops are Zeus, and the next closest 2439, 2740 is Equinox. I don't even know what that is. That looks like no. Apollo 2729. Really, really interesting stuff. We might have to post this somewhere just for people to see or link. We'll tweet out at Beer Nuts Podcast. I will tweet out the website URL for this document. It's very, very interesting. I would have never in a million years guessed these are the types. I would have guessed the typical Cascade, Centennial, Chinook.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I would have thought.
So I guess hey, Zeus hops.
Cool. Yeah, like I said, I like to learn more about those, and are they aroma hops? Are they bittering hops? What are they contributing, and what's the demand for? Are we moving more to, like, I'm going to do a beer this on this episode later on. A brut IPA, which will be a dry.
The latest phrase.
A dry beer with focus on hops and the aroma, where there might not be a lot of bitterness to it, but the aromas come through. So, if there's a big swing to that kind of style, do they need to start switching up and planting more of the aroma hops? I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Well, I'll just say that this document, it says released December 19th, 2017 by National Agricultural Statistics Service, Agricultural Statistics Board, United States Department of Agriculture, National Hop Report.
Oh.
We'll post it on at Beer Nuts Podcast. Go to Twitter if you want to see these statistics. They're absolutely, really very interesting and eye-opening. That being said, I am really thirsty, Pete.
Yeah, why don't you take one, JR, and let me finish this top cutter. And I'll come back.
Waiting. So I wanted to get the full pop top audio here. So here we go. So Uncle Pete went to 21 states. I went to Cleveland.
That's not a state.
But you know what? That's okay, because it was a fun trip to Cleveland, and I have managed to find a Whole Foods that had a great beer selection. And I found something a little different. It's called Life Itself. It's from Platform Brewing Company. Let's see. It's in Ohio. I think it's a Cleveland brewery. Platform Brewing in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a kettle sour Gosa, and it says lime, meringue, and graham. So it's like a graham cracker, lime meringue. It says malts, Pilsner, pale wheat, Vienna, wheat flakes, crystal hops, American ale yeast, adjuncts of lime zest, lime juice, lactose, and graham cracker. So I just poured this. There is absolutely no head. I mean, there is maybe, it flickered for like the first 2.5 seconds of just a little bit, and it is completely clear. It almost looks like a glass of apple juice. That would be exactly what it looks like, a little orange, very clear, nice little tiny bubbles going through it. So I'm going to take a whiff of this, and not really smelling much, maybe a little bit of lime, a little bit of citrus on the nose, nothing strong. Now I just took the first sip. It's a lovely beer. It's very light, nice lime. I really like the descriptor of meringue because it's like a light, fluffy. It's not a very, it's very thin, light, refreshing, easy to drink. I'm going to look for the graham cracker this time. It really does. If you could close your eyes and picture a light lime meringue, that nice fluffy light consistency, that's kind of what it mimics. So it is called Life Itself. It got very good ratings on Untapped, which is what I kind of decided I'm going to check this out. It's got 4 IBUs, which is nothing. So it's, there is no head on this at all. It's like as light as a feather, which is that meringue thing going on. Very, very subtle on the graham cracker part. That's the one thing that maybe is lacking a little, but it's a lovely beer. It would have been probably perfect to drink when it was 80 degrees out. Now that we're going into kind of the colder weather, maybe it's not the perfect beer for this time of year, but very well constructed, and a good beer for me to start the episode with, because I found another Cleveland beer that will be better for towards the end. But I've heard really, really good things about Platform Brewing in Cleveland. Not to rip on Cleveland, but some people in Michigan aren't real fond of Ohio, and Cleveland is the butt of many jokes. But and of course, their football team hasn't had a very good history in the last few years. The Browns struggled, but you know what? I actually had a nice visit to Cleveland, and
they got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They do, and we would have gone, except the kids really weren't interested. We almost entertained going there, but honestly, if you ever get to Cleveland, look up anything from Platform. This was kind of I just kind of tried it because it was something different, but they have some great IPAs. There was a hazy IPA that I had there that I really enjoyed. So when in Cleveland, seek out Platform, great brewery, and this is actually a really lovely beer. It's just very unique, very light. Again, probably suited for, this would have been a great beer to review over the summer. But I'm glad I found it, and I'm enjoying it. So
awesome.
Cheers, everybody. And so from Yakima, we go to Cleveland, and I think we're going to go back to Michigan with David next. So, David, take it away.
Oh, no.
Ground control.
Oh, he's still there. He's connected.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm sorry.
There we go.
Hilarious.
The beer is actually not from Michigan. It's from Maryland. But because So, like, I had the one beer that we're gonna finish up with, which would be a hidden gem until the end. You guys stick with
but
us.
You know what? It is Road Warriors, so it's not supposed to be a Michigan beer. So that's my mistake. So
exactly, yeah. So this one is when I was stationed in Quantico, Virginia. This brewery was one of the closest breweries to me in Fredericksburg, Maryland, or not Maryland. They're in Maryland, not Fredericksburg. But anyways,
either Frederick, Maryland, or Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Yeah, Fredericksburg, Virginia. Well, it's the Maryland one. It's
Frederick, Maryland, then.
There you go.
Because you know why? Because I used to live down there, and I also used to sell liquor to the Quantico Marine Base.
Yeah, you told me that before.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you got from Frederick, Maryland, then?
So this one is the Dogtoberfest, the Martzen from Flying Dog Brewery. And one of the reasons that kind of drew me to this brewery to begin with is the artwork on all their bottles. It's if you've ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas or actually read the book, the artistry in the book and in the movie and stuff, like they're like the same author, the same illustrator does their artistry on labels for their brewery. So it's always like kind of some crazy dog, weird animation looking thing. But anyways, to the beer. Pouring it into the glass, and it should be an Oktoberfest. The Martzen, and we actually had a really great Martzen at North Center, so I'm going to try to compare it to that as much as I could. And actually, oh man, we missed out on the quote. On the side of this bottle, there's a perfect quote, especially around Oktoberfest season. It says, "There's sauerkraut in my lederhosen." I repeat, there's sauerkraut in my lederhosen.
That is way better than the ones we came up with.
I think that's just one of the many things you can expect to enjoy from Flying Dog Brewery in Maryland. And I first heard of Flying Dog when I was in Colorado, because they have two breweries, one in Frederick, Maryland, and one in Colorado Springs. Yeah, wow. I just took a big old gulp of it, and it's got a really good sweet maltiness to it. And it's got that nice clean lager flavor, so there's no interference with some crazy like yeast flavors at all. But yeah, there's a lot of I really like there's really like a deep malt roastiness, a little bit like a bready, biscuity flavor. But came out really good. Like it's a little warm. I just got it from the store a couple hours ago, but yeah, it came out really. It's really delicious. I don't know. It's kind of Actually, it's the exact same. It's 5.6% alcohol. It's the exact same percentage as the Oktoberfest at North Center where I work, and it's very comparable. Like they're almost like the reason I'm kind of lost for words is like it's almost the same thing, and I'm having hard time not basically just completely comparing it to that. But yeah, this is delicious. Like for an Oktoberfest, for a good Martzen, it's on point. It's everything you would want in an Oktoberfest.
Well, one of the news stories that put Flying Dog on the map was they had a label that was, I guess, there was a lawsuit over the MLCC, the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, denied the ability to use this label in the state. And it was called Raging Bitch. It's their Belgian style pale ale. Looking at the article on it because I remembered about it. And the MLCC ruled that the label was detrimental to the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. So Flying Dog actually sued the state and won. And Freedom of Speech says now they are allowed to use that name. So that was in 2015. That was kind of the first one of the big stories here in Michigan about, it actually was great publicity for the brewery because no one ever heard of them and everybody got their name out. But that beer, I believe, is still produced and available. And the state of Michigan had to approve it as the result of that lawsuit. First Amendment rights.
Yep.
The other claim to fame for somebody who I'm a big fan of eating Maryland crabs, and of course Old Bay seasoning is a big deal. And being a Maryland brewery, Flying Dog produced a beer that is brewed with that seasoning, the Old Bay seasoning.
I strangely want to try that beer.
It's called Full Rise, I believe. And I actually did buy some. It's a very light, easy to drink, like summer beer, but it's perfect for when you're eating crabs. And it does have a little bit of zest from the Old Bay in there. So
nice.
I think it's pretty cool because I love that seasoning.
Like I am not a fan of seafood things in general, but when I used to go to the East Coast for work, they got the chips, the Old Bay chips, and those things are delicious.
Oh yeah,
Boots Potatoes or whatever, that potato company.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another great use for Old Bay is if you ever have a Bloody Mary to rim your glass with Old Bay instead of salt. It makes a Bloody Mary like twice as good.
Oh, thanks for that tip. I'm going to use that.
Exactly.
Flying Dog, we have you to thank for brewing a Old Bay beer.
Cool.
Cheers to Flying Dog.
Here's the Flying Dog.
And all the raging bitches.
All right. Well, speaking of raging bitches, it's up to Chris now.
Oh, hey.
Bada big.
I see what you did there.
I had to say something.
Well, my beer is from Michigan, but it's from up north. Well, it's the upper part of the hand. That's what we refer to in Michigan. And anything north of the thumb, up north, from Sheboygan Brewing Company. I have blueberry cream ale. I just figured, why not? I always see the same things. The same, I was going to grab something from Shorts, but nothing against Shorts. We've had them on enough. It's another brewery. Figured I'd give it a shot. I poured it.
You guys were just on the podcast, another podcast to listen to, the Better on Draft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like all the guys there, and that was a good podcast. But,
that's cool.
There you go. Just a cross-promotion plug right there. I don't know.
There we go.
It's all good. It's like the craft beer community. We're all a rising tide floats all ships, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
But so
industries that still do that. It has that advantage.
Absolutely.
Well,
so back to the Sheboygan beer.
You made me take a drink, Dave. All right, but poured it. It had quite the thick head, and it's dissipated, and the lacing is still kind of pretty thick here, clinging to the glass, which is kind of ironic because the appearance of this beer is, it's cloudy-ish. You can't see through it, but it looks like it's a lighter beer. And you take a sip. And it's got like a nice medium mouthfeel. Blueberry up front, cream in back, and then the blueberry comes back at you. That's the best way I can describe it. This is a nice, light, drinkable beer. Let's see if I could see anything here about an IBU or a ABV. The answer is no. Bursting with fruity aroma, this light-bodied ale brewed with lactose sugar is packed with fresh blueberries. No, this is good. I'm not mad that I have 3 more cans of this. Might even save a couple for Sunday, maybe Saturday. Yeah, might not make it Saturday, but yeah. If you look for something lighter drinking, pick this up.
I love Sheboygan Brewery, I'll be honest, and I've been there many times, toured their facility. I've sat on their rooftop deck drinking their beers many times in the summer. They do have the blood orange honey.
I love that beer.
Which is one of my favorites. I mean, it just captured the essence of blood orange and in a very drinkable beer. And I've had the blueberry cream ale as well, which is, like you said, Chris, a light, easy drinker, if that's what you're looking for. I thought they do a great job. I mean, they're small, but they put out some really good fruit flavored beers.
Yep, and they're nice, easy drinkers. They're not trying to be somebody they're not. I got a great story. We went to the Sheboygan State Park right around the corner.
Yep.
And rented a teepee in the park there. And we actually got to camp out overnight in a teepee. Now, it did have like bunk beds in it and a wooden floor, but it was really cool. We were in a teepee. We had a campsite with a fire outside, and my family, we really had a good time doing that. So, there's a tip. Ever get up into northern Michigan, look up Sheboygan State Park, see if you can rent that teepee. It was really a fantastic experience. I still have great pictures of us hanging out at the teepee.
Yeah, it's a great part of the state. Absolutely, that whole northern tip of the state, east or west of the Mackinac City area. But yeah, I would recommend, if you get a chance, your listeners, go to Sheboygan Brewery and check them out. Try the blueberry cream ale.
Absolutely.
And check out Better on Drink podcast 150.
Cool.
Number 150.
I could see this being a good breakfast beer.
Oh, no problem.
Blueberry pancakes.
Yeah, blueberry pancakes, blueberry cream ale.
I've had blood orange honey with my breakfast because it's like an orange juice.
Yeah, that blood orange honey is really good stuff.
Well, let me pick on up another one here then, if it's okay with you guys.
Absolutely. We're right back to you.
I'm ready to go back on the road and give you a couple of anecdotes from the trip. Chris, and maybe you, I don't know if you've been there, but Bend, Oregon, a little town of Bend.
I have not.
Oh, it's a great place. I used to go up there when I lived on the West Coast. I used to go up there and ski at Mount Bachelor and in some of the backcountry around Bend. And at that time in the 80s, there was not a Deschutes brewery. But now Bend, Oregon has a brewery called Deschutes Brewery. And if anybody recognizes that name, you might also recognize the name of Fresh Squeezed IPA. So I went to Deschutes Brewery in Bend on my travels and had them lay out a whole flight for me, including Fresh Squeezed. And it's such a great, just a great IPA. I got to give a props to their porter, though. If you've never had Deschutes Black Butte Porter, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find it, for all of you listeners here in the Southeast Michigan area, you should be able to find Deschutes Black Butte Porter on your shelves. I would rate this porter, personally, in my opinion, as just a perfect specimen of the porter style. That it's got a great mouthfeel, and the chocolate and coffee, comes through. It's just a perfect porter in my view. If you want to drink a porter, this is the one. Go check it out. And I actually bought some of that, and I drank it all. But I was thrilled because as I was driving through the area, I learned that Black Butte was actually one of the mountain peaks in the area, and I got to see Black Butte, off in the distance, and found out where it was. So there's a beautiful picture of that mountain on the bottle of Deschutes Black Butte Porter. Sorry for that sideline, but I had to reflect on that because...
No, you know what? When I lived in Las Vegas, I discovered that, and that was another hidden treasure that it was readily available. One thing you got to learn for craft beer is not every great beer is like impossible to get, or you have to wait in line for it. There are some great beers on the shelf there, and this is one of them. And I think Founders Porter's up there too.
Yeah. These are beers that have been around a while too, and that people probably take them for granted nowadays because they're always looking for the next crazy thing or the cool thing. But if you want to go back to some perfect examples of this style, this is one of them.
Agreed.
So I'm going to move south from Bend, Oregon, and get down into California, back in my old stomping grounds. I lived in Auburn, California, and I lived in Folsom, California, where the famous prison, Folsom Prison, was there, about a mile from my old house. And little town of Rancho Cordova, right next to Folsom, is where I worked at an aerospace company. And back in the 80s, there was not a brewery nearby. But now that I went back, and right across the street from my old employer, right outside the front gate, here's Fort Rock Brewery in Rancho Cordova. So I pulled in, and turns out they had tons of pale ale offerings. And the one that caught my eye and I had to try was the Chateau Rancho Brut IPA. And this is an upcoming style. I don't think it's an official style of beer, but a Brut IPA is a beer that it's your standard pale ale, but it's made to be dry. And basically what that means by dry is that they're taking and extending the fermentation by adding an enzyme to re-energize the fermentation and get all of the fermentable sugars that are possibly, that are in the wort, and get those fermented into alcohol, and leaving really the sweetness is gone, and all of the fermentable sugars in the malt are gone. And you come up with what they call a dry profile beer. And what that does is that it really becomes something that becomes light, refreshing, very effervescent, and it allows you to focus on the aromas and the flavors in the hops. And so the malt influence really isn't there to add that into the equation in your mouth to try to figure out what's going on. And so this one is a 7% ABV and a 30 IBU, so low on the bitterness, very light colored. I'm going to pour it up here, and I'm telling you, it's got a color that's, it's lighter than yellow. Okay, so and it's very, very active on the carbonation, producing just a huge, fine, white, creamy, fine, bubbly head. And I get into the aroma, and what I get is a lot of fruit, some tropicals, and it's got a slight haze to it, I might mention. It's not like a hazy IPA haze, but it's just kind of a chill haze, kind of a haze. And let me get a swig here. Yeah, very light-bodied. Immediately I'm tasting tropical fruits, a very low bitterness. I get a really nice finish. Dry. If you can imagine that, it does dry my mouth out, but it's not from a high level of bitterness like the top cutter that I reviewed earlier. Yeah, that one makes me pucker and dries my mouth out because that was a 70 IBU, high bitterness beer. This one, on the other hand, is a lower bitterness, but it's very light on the mouthfeel, and the maltiness isn't there to add any sweetness. So I get a lot of dryness. Very pleasing. I could quaff, many of these very quickly. I'm sure at 7% it would make me, start bouncing off the ceiling, but I can't complain about that. Anyone else tried any of these Brut IPAs that are going around out there? I know they're around.
Well, yeah. I wanted to just say, for those of you that know, I teach a brewing marketing class in the Schoolcraft Brewing and Distillation Technology program. And matter of fact, David actually, that's how I met him. He took my class, and now he's brewing, which is great. But we had our every semester we take a field trip, and just a couple days ago we had our field trip to Supernatural Brewing and Spirits in Livonia, Michigan. And one of the first beers, when I showed up, I said, "What would you recommend?" And they said, "Oh, you got to try our Brut IPA. It's called Brutus Hop Cake." And It was wonderful. It's their description. I'm on their website now because I wanted to mention it. It says new West Coast style IPA designed to emulate the dry and tropical flavors of champagne. Very dry but not too bitter. And 5 IBUs. So it's dry as can be. It's got that nice effervescent like champagne feel to it. But it was absolutely an eye-opener and wonderful. And this style has not existed very long, but almost, you're starting to see it pop up everywhere. I think it's kind of, we had the New Englands for a while, and now this is kind of the next thing that it's new and exciting.
I saw one tonight and was kind of like, what the heck? What the
Everybody's
hell is this?
getting into it, and it's, Pete hit the nail on the head, The New England, focuses more on the malt. Their sweet malt, and granted, there are tons of hops in a lot of the New England IPAs too. So it's not like the malt is the star, but basically with the brewed IPAs, the malt is taking a big back seat.
Yeah,
and it's you're dry. You're fermenting all those malts. You're fermenting everything out, and it's just dry as can be. David, you're a brewer. Why don't you expand on how you would brew something like this and the flavor profile?
I actually took my first crack at it recently, and I brewed a IPA at North Center, so that should be ready soon. But it's my first time doing it, so there may be some more things. Like the next time I make it, I'll adjust a few things. But because because you're shooting for like zero, you're looking for like a zero gravity at the end of it, and
right.
I'm not getting that right away. So I think there's like certain like processes that I can improve on. I've been reading about it, so I did take at a brewed IPA, but all like I'll get it out for a second.
I was mentioning, as I was describing it, and I've done a little research as well. I've used amylase enzyme in some of the brews I've made, and that a lot of times that helps kickstart.
I put some amylase enzyme in. I'm like, and what I was reading about online is the different times when
to do it.
Yeah, and literally, I researched for a few hours, and I literally found at least one article telling me, or saying how you can add the amylase enzyme at every single step throughout the brew process.
You could put it in the mash, or you could put it in the boil. In the fermentation after the primary's done. Yeah. There's all different. I think that's the cool thing about brewing is you can try all those different methods, and you probably get different results with each way you try to go. Yeah. And it's a learning process, and I think that's what these brewers that are striking out doing brewed IPAs, they're playing around and finding some successes. And I should have mentioned, I'm going back for a second, but the brewery that I was talking about is called Fort Rock Brewing in Rancho Cordova, California. I didn't mention their name, but I think they're trialing and erroring, and coming up with some successes. And I'm happy for it because I like trying the new things. And as a home brewer, I'm intrigued now myself because I've made tons of IPAs, and I've used amylase in some of my beers. Normally I use the amylase if I want to, if I'm doing a huge stout, and I don't want it to be super sweet, and I want to ferment out as much of the fermentable sugars as I can. Yeah, I'll re-kickstart the stout with, some amylase. To keep that fermentation going, but to do it in an IPA, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you guys, making a point to go out to Supernatural in Livonia. Shameless plug for these guys. They were very gracious hosts to us. But when I went in, I said, give me any beer you want. And that was the first one they threw at me, and they've got it down. Wonderful beer, and then if you go out there's another Belgian Trappist ale called Supernatural 10 that was off the charts too. Great stuff going out there in Livonia, and as long as you're going out there, go see David because he's right down the street at North Center Brewing in Northville. So both right out there, a little bit west of Detroit. So definitely. Great stuff going on out at that neck of the woods.
Yeah, and come check us out. Like right across the street from Kroger, we got a bunch of good beer. We're coming around like the winter months, so we got all dark. We got like 3 different stouts and like a porter, 2 different stouts, a porter, a dark mild. Like we got all kinds of dark beer. We also have our Shipwrecked IPA on tap. So
nice.
Well, we're only 2 episodes away from the opening of stout season. So, 2 more weeks we will be officially opening stout season.
All right.
It's been for like a week.
It's funny on my road trip around the country. As I went west, it was IPA. It's all pale ales and IPAs, and I kept asking at a few places. I'm like, well, man, where's all the stouts? And there was Oktoberfest mixed in, and here and there a Harvest Ale, and I was kind of shocked. I thought there'd be more stouts on tap at this time. It's almost like putting, Valentine's Day candy out at January 1st or something, or, as soon as Christmas is over. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see them, and I kept asking, and there were very few offerings of the big stouts on the West Coast. They're there. I'm not saying they're not. They're in the bottle shops, and they're but in the breweries and the tap rooms I stopped in, it was 90% IPAs. And that's what's the focus. So,
well, you know what? I'm about to introduce our next beer on the show, and we're going back to Cleveland, and we're going right into stout season with Masthead Brewing Company Single Origin Coffee Stout. So I'm going to pop this open. I've been dying to do it. I polished off that lemon meringue. It was a little light for my palate. This is going to be a treat. So I just poured it. I've got a 2-finger, that cola-looking head. I'm just like salivating even looking at this thing. Now I'm going to, as I like to do, I'm going to read the description before I taste this. Single Origin Coffee Stout from Masthead Brewing Company in downtown Cleveland. 30 IBUs, 6.9% alcohol. It says, we partnered with our friends at Six Shooter Coffee to bring you this mashup of our 2 favorite beverages. The lightly roasted Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. Oh, man, I can't pronounce that. Yirgacheffe. Yirgacheffe coffee tea. Used in this beer bring flavors and aromas of berry and cocoa. Compare perfectly with the roasty notes from the stout. I can't pronounce that kind of coffee, but I can taste it. 1261 Superior Avenue, Cleveland, Masthead Brewing Company. I can't wait to taste this. So, again, the head settled down to about 1 finger. Nice, healthy head. Oh, man, looks so good. Oh, my God, the coffee aroma on this thing is off the charts. This is going to be good.
And you'll be up all night.
I don't care. I'll have another one.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, and it is a coffee bomb from the ages. It's good. The mouthfeel on this thing is just wonderful. It's, it's not a like totally full-bodied, like real thick, but it's between. It's way above thin and just below super thick. It's a medium to thick bodied. The coffee flavor and aroma in this is just overwhelming and delicious.
Oh boy!
It's I need to wake up tomorrow.
Are you okay? Are you gonna be okay?
I'm more than okay. It's really Single Origin Coffee Stout. Now I got to figure out how to say Gorbachev. I don't know, Yirgacheffe coffee from Ethiopia, but it's really delicious. The mouthfeel is perfect. Coffee flavor out the wazoo. Really nice, strong, fresh coffee. I guess if you're not a coffee drinker, I know a lot of people that aren't coffee drinkers that love coffee stouts, though. So I would imagine that I probably won't be going to bed soon, though.
It's not
probably a lot of caffeine in this thing.
It doesn't have that Kopi Luwak coffee in it, does it?
No, it doesn't. No.
You don't have the cat poop coffee?
The cat poop coffee again.
No. I
We've
like
been
coffee,
through that.
but the man's got to know his limitations.
Well, I'll tell you, JR, do you have any more of that, or was that a crawler?
It was a 4-pack, and I think this is the second can, so I'll save you a can for sure.
Because I'd love to trade you. I've got this Los Vascos coffee latte imperial oatmeal stout from Bearded Iris.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be hopefully in the same ballpark as the one you're talking about right now.
Consider it a trade. And you know what? I went to a Whole Foods, and I'm almost ashamed. My family was with me, and they're all walking around the store looking at like the big, like there was like fish just brought in, fresh fish on ice and stuff, all this great stuff in the store.
Yeah.
And they just left me in the beer section and like walked around for a half hour while I'm checking all the beers for all the ratings and good.
Quiet time in the beer aisle.
These are the 2 beers that I found the highest ratings on. I'm kind of ashamed of myself that I should just randomly just pick some stuff because other people's Untapped ratings really aren't indicative.
You can't always rely on it, yeah.
But I think especially with this coffee stout, I think it was worth looking up the ratings because this got a pretty high rating. It was over 4, I believe, but I'm giving it 4.25 to a 4.5. It's really delicious.
Sounds great.
And
it's getting to be that time of year.
Guess the 11 o'clock news will be coming on soon, and I'll be looking for the late show after that. Wonderful beer. Great job, Cleveland. Sorry the Indians lost. Bummer, but still got good beer. And the Browns are actually winning a few games. So,
well, I believe we're gonna head a little bit. We're gonna head west. No, wait, east from Ohio. Sorry, it gets late in the show. The compass gets a little.
The dial is spinning.
I believe High Life has their tonight's final.
High Life is going to give us our grand finale, and I'm going to try to be quiet because I'm talking a mile a minute with all this caffeine and this. So,
all right, what do we got?
Finish it off. This is High Life's going to review a beer dear to my heart. It might be something that's not a rarity by any means, except unless you live in Michigan. But take it away, High Life.
Yeah, it's sought after if you live in Michigan.
Ground control to Major High Life.
Yeah.
Hey, the mute button has its own, So, if you're not familiar with America's oldest brewery, then I feel sorry for you, and I hope that this will introduce you to it enough that you'll somehow be able to enjoy it in a little bit. So, usually Yingling comes in a can. Actually, no, usually it comes in a green bottle. But here we are opening a can of it in Michigan. Is this legal? Are we legally allowed to drink Yingling?
Well,
we're allowed to drink it.
Pot's legal in Canada now, so I guess we could do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, and I'm only a half a mile from Canada right now.
Just in case, don't tell anybody. Okay? So,
sure. I'll take it out in post.
Alright, so I've had Yingling many times, but this I'm trying to focus as much as I can right now on what I'm getting with this Yingling.
Traditional lager.
Yeah, it is a traditional lager, so it is really clean. So I'm definitely not getting any kind of fruity, spicy, anything like that. It's a nice, clean, malty. It's a nice, clean, malty, like a malty nose that you have on it. So, take a big gulp of it, and oh yeah. Yeah, it's.
Describe the color for us.
I mean, it's brilliantly clear. Absolutely, it's just
kind of what, an amber copper.
Imagine, but it does have a nice copper color to it. it's on that level where it's as dark as it can be, but still be completely clear.
That's what I like about it. A lot of lagers are just yellow. You know, Yangling's actually got color in it from the malt, too. It's not like an artificial color.
Yeah. The guys have been doing this apparently since, longer than ever.
1829.
Yeah, exactly. So they know what they're doing, and it's a good, clean, very good tasting beer for sure.
And as Uncle Pete said, boy, why can't we bring this to Michigan?
Right. I wonder. What's the deal?
It's in some circles, people say it's a mass-produced.
I wonder that if we could get it in Michigan, would it taste as good in Michigan?
Right.
Really? Like, think about that. You never know.
Yeah, you're right. That's a point.
All of a sudden, we'd be like, "What's this trash?"
For those of us that live in Southeast Michigan, we're only 45 minutes from Toledo, so we can get our fix there.
So like every day, and then not even a big deal.
So that's the oldest, I believe it's a family-owned brewery, like Stroh's, right?
They have turned down multiple big offers, big brewers. They are a family-owned, America's oldest independent craft brewery. They are a member of the Brewers Association. They are an independently owned craft brewery. They do huge volume, and they do not distribute west of the Mississippi or north of Ohio.
So fuck Michigan.
I was going to mention what I was leading into was I at least got to go to the second oldest family-owned brewing operation in the United States, and that was August Shell Brewing in New Ulm, Minnesota. Where I took a tour, and I'm telling you, this place was old. I mean, built out of brick, up on a top of a hill. And New Ulm, Minnesota was another, well, not Swiss, but this one was a German founded settlement. And again, in honor of my heritage, I made sure to stop in New Ulm, Minnesota, and took the tour at August Shell. And it was great. I mean, the old copper kettles they had there, and then the tasting room at the end was just dark, and the dark stained wood and all of the old feel to it, and the great beers, all the German lagers, craft lagers in my opinion. And the unfortunate part was I couldn't buy any beer at the brewery. I had to buy it in town at the store. And I was really bummed out. I didn't know if there was some laws in Minnesota or something that says you can't buy beer at the brewery. I don't know. But I did go out and find some and brought some home. So
awesome. Well, sounds like there's a party coming up soon.
I can't do it alone. Let me put it that way.
I'm here for you, brother.
Oh, yeah. It's good to have friends.
Twist my arm. Well, hey, some great breweries. Just wanted to say with Yangling, I grew up about an hour from the brewery in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And when I grew up, it was just a cheap local beer. It wasn't a big deal. And as I kind of went to school at Penn State and went through college, it started to really grow and become popular. And now it's like a thriving brewing entity. And one thing I just want to say about Yangling is the owner, Dick Yangling. He is unbelievable guy. He's the kind of guy, like a semi truck pulls up to pick up a load of stuff, he'll get on the forklift and load. He is not one of these guys that sits behind a desk and counts his profits or looks at his balance sheets all day. He's out there. He's a real down to earth guy that lives, breathes, and sweats his business. He's engaged in it. He wants his children to be engaged in the business, and it's really a great story. I just can't explain how unique of a story that is in the brewing business, because he could have easily sold out and be living on a Caribbean island somewhere, sipping drinks and be set for the rest of his life with the operation he has. But he's really a rare gem of somebody that's took over a family brewing business and lives and breathes it every day, and doesn't get his head isn't in the clouds, and he loves he loves running a brewery. Yeah,
right. That's the
really
best
good
ones.
guy, and it's hard to explain it, but anybody that's met Dick or knows it, he's still he's hands on in his brewing operation every day, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. That's the kind of guy he is, and that's I think what makes Yangling what it is today, is somebody like that has the passion for the business and gets his hands dirty every single day and to make his brewery run. So my only gripe with him is that he hasn't brought his beer to Michigan. So
yeah, me too.
Well, hey, let me know if you ever want to, if he's ever looking for a plant to go work there. If he needs a brewer, I'll be a spy, try to get him to get up here in Michigan if I can get the job. But
they did open a second brewery. They did purchase a brewery several years ago in Tampa, Florida. So they're a big presence in Florida, and mainly east of the Mississippi. And when I was in Las Vegas, bars there were begging. I remember friends used to come to visit me from Pennsylvania, and I'd be like, "Can I bring you anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, bring me 2 suitcases of Yangling cans." And like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's like gold out here," and it was.
Yeah.
It's maybe that's part of the mystique, is they're not getting too big for their britches. They're not trying to be a Coors or a Budweiser. They're just comfortable in their own shoes. So, hey, and I know it may not be the most flavorful beer compared to some of the other beers we review on Beer Nuts, but in the brewing world, they're very relevant. It's a great, easy drinking. I would say the best experience for this beer is to tailgate with. It's 4 or 5%. I don't know what the ABV is, but it's probably right around like a Budweiser or a Heineken. Like 4 or 5%, and it's a sessionable beer, and it's a lager, but it's got more flavor than most yellow lagers. It's got more malt in it, I think, and it's a wonderful, easy drinking, sessionable beer that whenever I go back to Pennsylvania, I'm always looking for more unique stuff than Yangling. I'll admit it, but if I go into a beer with limited selection, I'm perfectly happy. Okay, you got Yangling, give me one of those. It's just fine. So it is what it is, and
I have an interesting story about Yangling. When I was in the Marines, I had a bunch of people over, and we're hanging out in my garage, and we played beer pong, as one does when you're, 23 years old, hanging out with a bunch of other people, hanging out in the garage, We're playing some beer pong. So all I had was some Yangling, so we loaded up all the beer pong cups with Yangling. We got through one game, and and all of us agreed, yep, we're done. After one round of Yangling, we're like, yeah, that was a little too heavy to friggin' just start the night out with, just pounding basically 5 Yanglings. It was kind of rough. So,
and it's probably not the alcohol content; it's actually that it's full flavored. It's
volume.
not just some
I
thin.
agree. It's the volume, but it's still compared to a Busch Light is still it's the extra level of above.
Agreed. Yep. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, and
no problem.
And Pete, really, really glad to have you back. We miss you. We lived vicariously through your stories, and we'll continue to do so.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here. I got plenty of beer to share. I'm going to put a picture of the booty, not my booty, but the booty. I just wanted to clarify that. But I'll put a picture up of the hall.
I think we should all put up a picture of our booties.
My booty's the biggest booty. Anyways, and so it was a good trip, even though I didn't set out to, hit all the breweries. That would have been impossible. There's so many out there, and I encourage all our listeners, hit the road, be a road warrior, and make sure to stop and check out the local breweries.
There's nothing more fun than when you're on the road finding that local brewery that might be just around the corner. I have an app that's like a brewery map finder, I think it's called, and I just dial that thing up and a couple red pins show up on the map, and I'm like, yeah, there's a brewery 2 miles from here. I'm going to arbitrarily check it out.
Yeah, when you're on the road, drink local. Don't drink stuff you can get when you're at home.
Amen. Well said, Chris.
That's right.
All right. Well, we are on Twitter at Beer Nuts Podcast. We're on Instagram at Beer Nuts Podcast if you want to show us what you're drinking. You can always email the show, beernutspodcast at christophermedia.net if you want to drop us a line. JR, I believe it's time to go to Mexico.
And I'm pretty sure by the year 2020 we'll have a win this class again, but that's up to Chris.
Now there's things. Now we're switching states and all that stuff. We'll talk. So
I just had to give you a little bit of
personal organization.
All right. Well, you know what? We can find beers in Mexico too, and as they say in old Mexico City, A.M.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.